Fire in the heart of a dying station. Truth finally bleeds through the lies. Adam Ray returns to save the creature he once feared, only to face the terrifying secret behind his own existence. Humanity's greatest sin wasn't creating monsters, it was becoming them. As fire consumes the sky, one final choice will decide what survives: love or the last shred of humanity itself.
The dropship's hull screamed as it tore through the crimson sky, shards of metal peeling away like burning feathers. Lieutenant Adam Ray gripped the flight harness, the vibration rattling through his bones as alarms howled all around him. The display flickered red. Oxygen leak, navigation failure, total system loss. His voice barely cut through the chaos. Mayday command. This is Echo 9. Reentry compromised, requesting immediate vector assist. The transmission dissolved into static. Then silence. A second later, the world went white. The ship hit atmosphere at a steep angle, its thrusters failing one by one. Through the cracked viewport, Adam caught a glimpse of the planet below. Dark jungle stretching endlessly, its canopy glowing faintly under a blood-red haze. Then came the impact. A thunderclap of metal and fire sent him crashing forward as the dropship slammed into the alien forest, carving a burning scar through the trees. When the noise finally faded, there was only smoke and a deep, pulsing hum, like the ground itself was alive. Adam blinked through the haze, his ears ringing. The cabin was a mess of twisted panels and dangling wires. He reached for his survival pack, wincing as pain shot through his ribs. His right leg throbbed. He couldn't tell if it was broken or just bruised, and he wasn't sure he wanted to know. He stumbled out into the open. The air was thick, metallic, and cold. Red mist clung to the trees, which looked nothing like trees at all. Long white spires rising like bones, their surfaces smooth and almost translucent. They curved overhead, forming a canopy that pulsed faintly with light. Each pulse sent a vibration through the ground, as if the whole forest breathed in rhythm with some hidden heart. Adam tapped his wrist comm. Command, this is Lieutenant Ray. Echo 9 is down. Repeat, Echo 9 is down. Coordinates unknown. Request immediate evac. Static. No response. He adjusted frequencies, but the signal was dead, jammed by something unnatural. He sighed and looked around. No sign of other pods. No movement. Just the quiet hum of an alien world. He needed water, shelter, and a vantage point. His training kicked in, the cold precision of a soldier replacing the panic clawing at the edges of his mind. He scanned the ground and froze. The soil wasn't soil. It was gray and soft, scattered with broken shells that looked disturbingly like ribs. And just ahead of him, pressed deep into the surface, was a footprint. It was enormous, at least 6 meters long. The impression was fresh, steam still curling from the edges. He crouched and placed his hand inside it. It swallowed his entire arm up to the elbow. Whatever made it had passed through recently. And it wasn't alone. There were others, leading deeper into the fog. He lifted his rifle, pulse quickening. The red mist moved strangely here, as though it were alive, twisting in spirals around invisible shapes. A faint sound reached him, a low vibration that could have been wind or breathing. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. The alien sun never seemed to rise or fall. It just hung there, a dull red wound in the sky. Adam found a ridge overlooking his crash site and set up a temporary camp. The ship still burned faintly below, casting shadows across the skeletal forest. He scanned the perimeter, every instinct screaming that he wasn't alone. Then he heard it, a low thud, then another. Each one made the ground tremble slightly. Adam froze. The vibrations grew stronger, steady, deliberate. He raised his rifle toward the mist. The forest seemed to hold its breath. And then something vast moved between the trees. At first, he thought it was a trick of the fog. But then he saw a hand, enormous, pale, and scarred, wrapping around one of the bone-like trees. The creature stepped into view. She was tall, at least 10 meters, humanoid but far from human. Her skin glowed faintly with a silver-blue sheen, and her eyes burned with bioluminescent light. She was beautiful in a way that terrified him, muscular, graceful, and utterly alien. Her mouth, when it moved, revealed sharp teeth glinting in the firelight. Adam didn't move. His heart hammered so hard it hurt. He remembered old rumors of the Eaters, creatures the early colonists claimed devoured entire outposts. But those were myths. He'd laughed at them once. Not anymore. The Giantess crouched beside the wreckage, her long hair brushing the ground like a black waterfall. She sniffed the air, frowning, her nostrils flaring. Her gaze passed over the flames, the twisted metal, and then straight at him. Adam ducked behind a ridge, breath shallow. Maybe she hadn't seen him. But the next moment, a low voice rumbled through the air, deep and resonant. It wasn't just heard, it was felt. "Small one," she murmured. The language was strange, but somehow he understood it. Her tone wasn't rage. It was curiosity. Adam's finger tightened on the trigger. He could shoot, but part of him hesitated. Something about her posture, her eyes, it wasn't purely predatory. She moved closer, slow and careful, her enormous hands brushing aside debris as if searching for something. The air vibrated with her breathing. He took a step back, and a twig snapped under his boot. Her head snapped toward him instantly. Adam ran. He darted through the skeletal trees, branches snapping behind him as thunderous footsteps shook the ground. He fired over his shoulder. 3 plasma bolts lit the mist, striking her shoulder. She barely flinched. Instead, she growled, a sound that rippled through his chest like a living wave. "Stop," she commanded. It wasn't a plea, it was power. He stumbled, sliding down an incline, landing hard near a fallen log. His rifle clattered away. The ground trembled as she approached. Through the rising smoke, her massive silhouette loomed. Elegant, terrifying, unstoppable. Adam crawled backward, hand reaching for his sidearm. She leaned down, one eye filling his entire vision, glowing like a cold star. "You fight like them," she said softly. "Like the Fireborn." "I don't know what you are," he hissed, his voice trembling. "But stay back." Her lips curled slightly, not in anger, but in amusement. "You have fear," she whispered almost kindly. "It smells sweet." Before he could move, her hand came down, fast but strangely gentle. Her fingers wrapped around his torso, lifting him effortlessly into the air. The ground fell away beneath him, his legs kicking helplessly. Her breath washed over him, warm, metallic, almost human. For a moment their eyes met. There was no rage there, no hunger, just an unsettling kind of curiosity and recognition. Her voice dropped to a whisper, soft enough that it felt like it was meant for him alone. "You smell like fear." The words echoed in his mind long after everything else faded. The mist, the fire, even the sky. The last thing he saw before the darkness took him was her face, framed by the burning wreck, eyes glowing like twin stars in the blood-red night. When Adam came to, the first thing he felt was warmth, not the sterile hum of a med bay, but a living heat that pulsed faintly around him. He blinked, the world returning in fragments. The flicker of orange light, the damp scent of moss, the echo of dripping water. He was lying on smooth stone, and above him, the ceiling glowed faintly with veins of light that ran like blood through translucent rock. His body ached in places he didn't remember having before. His ribs were bound, crudely but effectively, with some kind of fibrous material that pulsed faintly like muscle. He sat up slowly, wincing, and then saw at his cage. The walls curved around him like a woven nest, each strand of vine thick as his arm and gleaming with resin. He reached out and touched one. It was warm, firm, almost metallic. When he pulled, it didn't even shift. Whatever this was, it wasn't plant. It was alive, or had been once. He pressed his ear against it and swore he could hear a faint heartbeat inside the vines. He swallowed hard. Somewhere beyond the walls, a low hum drifted through the air. It took him a moment to realize it was a voice. She was humming. The sound carried through the cavern, soft, slow, haunting, the kind of tune that didn't belong in a monster's mouth. It echoed off the stone like a lullaby from another age, filling the silence with something that wasn't entirely alien. It sounded lonely. Adam rose unsteadily and looked through the gaps in the vines. The chamber beyond was enormous, built into the side of a cavern that glowed faintly blue with mineral light. Pools of liquid shimmered across the floor, reflecting the light like a starfield trapped underground. And at the far end, half shrouded in shadow, sat the Giantess. She was turned away from him, her back curved, her long hair spilling down like a dark river. He could see her shoulders rise and fall as she worked, carving something with a blade made of bone. Sparks of blue light danced from her hands each time the blade struck stone. She didn't seem aware he was awake. Adam studied her movements, cautious but curious. Every part of her was power, muscle and grace sculpted in equal measure. But there was fragility, too. Her right arm bore a long scar that ran from shoulder to wrist, old and jagged, the kind that came from fire, not claws. He called out, "Hey, you can understand me, right?" She paused mid-motion, her head tilting slightly, but didn't turn around. "I don't know what you want," he said, his voice echoing off the stone. "But if you plan to eat me, just get it over with." Her hand stopped. The humming ceased. For a heartbeat, there was only the soft drip of water. Then she turned, slowly. Her eyes met his through the cage. Even across the distance, he felt the weight of her gaze, deep, ancient, curious. She said something in that strange language again, her voice low and melodic. He didn't understand the words, but the tone wasn't threatening. It sounded almost gentle. Then she stood, and he finally grasped her scale. She was immense, nearly brushing the cavern ceiling, her body covered in faint patterns of light that pulsed in rhythm with her breath. She approached, each step sending a ripple through the ground. Adam backed away from the vines instinctively. Her hand, larger than his entire torso, came forward and pressed against the cage. The vines responded, glowing faintly. With a single movement, they loosened enough for her to slide something through. A flat stone dish, holding fruit-like pods and a clear liquid that shimmered faintly green. He stared at it. "You're feeding me?" She tilted her head, as if trying to understand his reaction. Then she gestured, 2 fingers toward the dish, then toward her mouth. The meaning was obvious. Adam hesitated. The pods glowed faintly. For all he knew, they could be poison. He shook his head. "I'm not hungry." Something flickered across her face, confusion, maybe disappointment. She said something softly, her tone lower now, as if to herself. Then she placed her hand against the ground, leaned closer, and studied him. Her eyes moved across his injuries, lingering on the bandages she'd made. For a second, he could swear she looked proud. He turned away, not sure what to make of it. Every instinct told him to stay cautious. She could be fattening him up, conditioning him, studying him like prey. But there was something else, an ache behind her eyes, a quiet that didn't belong to a hunter. Hours passed. She sat at the far end again, carving lines into the cavern wall, whispering to herself in that strange, melodic tongue. He watched her through the vines. When she thought he wasn't looking, her shoulders slumped and her hand drifted to the scars along her arm. She pressed them as if in pain. The air began to change. A low rumble echoed through the tunnels, distant thunder. The faint glow in the walls flickered as the temperature dropped sharply. A storm was coming. Adam looked up. Through cracks in the cavern roof, he saw flashes of white light tearing across the sky. The thunder came again, louder, rolling through the earth like an ancient drum. The giantess stiffened. Her breathing changed. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter, almost frantic. She pressed her hands against her head and let out a low, guttural sound, half snarl, half moan. The lightning flashed again, and she gasped as though struck. "What's wrong with you?" Adam asked, stepping closer to the vines. She didn't answer. She stumbled backward, clutching the wall, her entire body trembling. The air around her shimmered with strange static, the same energy that had crackled through her scars. Lightning again, and she cried out, the sound raw, wounded. Adam gripped the vines. They flexed slightly under his pull. His mind raced. This was his chance. She was distracted, maybe vulnerable. If he could weaken one strand, he braced his foot and pulled with everything he had. The vine resisted at first, then began to strain. A small crack appeared, glowing faintly. He heard her collapse behind him, a heavy, echoing thud. He turned. She was on her knees, hands pressed to her temples, hair falling around her face like a veil. Her breathing came ragged, desperate. For a moment, she looked less like a giantess and more like a lost, frightened thing. The thunder rolled again, and she whispered something, her voice trembling. Adam couldn't make out the words. Then suddenly, he did. The language twisted in his mind until it made sense. Don't. Her voice was barely audible. Don't leave me again, human. Adam froze. His grip on the vine loosened. Again? The word echoed in his skull, carrying too much weight, too much memory for it to be random. He stepped closer to the edge of the cage. She lifted her face just enough for him to see her eyes, shining, pained, and fixed on him as though he were the only thing tethering her to reality. Then the next flash of lightning tore through the sky, and her body went still. The glow along her scars dimmed. The humming stopped. The cavern fell, silent, except for the rain that began to fall through the cracks above, each drop hissing as it hit the warm stone. Adam stood there in the dim light, chest heaving, torn between fear and something he didn't have a name for. He looked at her collapsed form, motionless but breathing faintly, and whispered to the dark, "What the hell are you?" The storm raged on, but her last words clung to the air like smoke, haunting, impossible, and deeply human. When Adam woke again, the storm had passed. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of burnt ozone. The cavern glowed softly from the veins of bioluminescent rock, and outside, faint red light filtered through cracks in the ceiling. He pushed himself up, the memory of her collapse flooding back. His eyes darted to the far side of the chamber. She was still there, motionless, lying on her side near the pool of shimmering water. Her breathing was steady but faint, her skin no longer glowing. For a long time, he didn't move. Part of him wanted to run. Another part, the one trained to assess and adapt, whispered that understanding her might be the only way to survive. He approached the edge of the cage. The vines that held him were still alive, but now they pulsed weakly, as if their strength came from her. He reached through the gaps, hesitating before speaking. "Hey, can you hear me?" No response. He tried again, louder. "You're not dead, are you?" Her fingers twitched slightly. The faintest flicker of light ran through the markings on her skin. Adam sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Figures. First alien I meet that doesn't try to kill me, and she collapses mid-sentence. He reached for the vine again, testing its strength. It flexed under his pull. He could break it if he kept working at it, maybe. But as he looked at her again, at the way her body curled in on itself, at the scars that traced her skin, he stopped. There was something wrong about leaving her like that. A deep breath escaped him. "I'm losing my mind," he muttered, and pushed at the vines again. They gave way more easily this time, sliding apart with a low creak. He slipped through the gap and stepped out onto the stone floor. The air outside the cage felt alive. Each breath seemed thicker, full of faint energy. He crossed the cavern slowly, eyes locked on her immense figure. Her hair spilled across the floor like dark silk, her hand half-curled near the pool. When he reached her, he could feel the heat radiating from her body. He hesitated, then placed a hand on her wrist. Her skin was rough, almost like cool glass, but it pulsed faintly beneath his touch. "You're still in there," he murmured. Her eyes fluttered open. He froze. The light in them returned slowly, dim at first, then growing until they glowed faintly blue again. She blinked, confused, her gaze falling on him. For a long moment, neither moved. Then she spoke, her voice weak but still deep and resonant. "Human," the word jolted through him. You said that before. You know my word." She frowned, struggling to sit up. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if gravity weighed heavier on her than it should. "Human," she repeated carefully, tasting each syllable. "Fireborn." He stared at her. "Fireborn." She nodded slowly, tapping her chest with one enormous finger. Vrah. He blinked. Vrah, that's your name. She inclined her head slightly. Yes. Then she pointed at him. You. Adam, he said cautiously. Ah, damn, she repeated, shaping the word with strange precision. Then she smiled faintly, a brief flash of teeth that was somehow both terrifying and beautiful. He couldn't help it. He laughed, just once, soft and disbelieving. Guest introductions worked the same everywhere. Vrah's head tilted. She studied him for a long moment, as if memorizing his face. Then she reached to her side and picked up something from the floor, a small object that glinted under the cavern light. She held it out, resting it on her open palm for him to see. It was a pendant. Crude, hand-carved, its surface dull with age. But in the center was something unmistakable, a metal insignia, tarnished but intact. The symbol of the human expansion fleet. Adam's heart stopped. He stepped closer, staring. Where did you get that? Vrah looked down at it with an expression that might have been sorrow. From Fire Sky, she said, her words halting. Long ago. You found it? Her gaze lifted back to him. Saved it. She tapped her chest again. Vrah keep. He swallowed hard. His mind was racing. That insignia wasn't just any fleet symbol. It was a unit marker. He knew that number. He'd seen it before. On the old photos his mother used to keep in her locker. It belonged to the 9th Recon Division, his father's unit. His mouth went dry. Where did you get this? He repeated, his voice sharper now. That belonged to a man, human like me. You understand? He wore that around his neck. Vrah's eyes softened. She looked down again at the insignia, her fingers closing around it protectively. Yes, she said slowly. I know, the Fireborn. Then you saw him? Adam stepped closer, adrenaline spiking. You saw my father? Her face changed. Something flickered there, a mix of memory and grief. She nodded once. He teach Vrah words. Teach name. He staggered back as if struck. You spoke to him? Her eyes met his again, steady now. He was not like others. He stay. He change. Adam felt the air thicken around him. What do you mean, change? She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers moved to the scars along her arm, tracing them absently. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter, almost tender. He became like me. The words hit him like a punch. That's not possible. She tilted her head. Possible, she said simply. Fireborn make Vrah. Vrah not beast. Vrah made. He stepped back, shaking his head. You're saying humans made you? Her expression shifted. Fireborn burn all. Kill sky, kill world. But one, she hesitated, searching for the right word, one stayed. He stopped fire. He stayed with Vrah. Adam's chest tightened. You're telling me my father didn't die in the war? Vrah's eyes glowed, faintly brighter, reflecting the trembling blue light of the cavern. She reached forward, her hand hovering near him, but not touching. When she spoke, her voice carried a strange warmth, a note of something almost mournful. He not die, Adam. The air seemed to vanish from the room. Her voice dropped lower, a whisper that seemed to echo through the stone itself. He became one of us. The cavern fell silent. Adam stared at her, the pendant gleaming faintly between them, the symbol of the man he thought was gone now tangled in a story that made no sense. His heart pounded, his thoughts spiraling. He wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, to scream that it was impossible. But in the reflection of her glowing eyes, he saw something horribly familiar, something human. The cave was silent except for the slow, rhythmic sound of her breathing. Vrah's massive form lay in shadow, the faint glow of bioluminescent vines painting her skin in ghostly light. Adam stood near the edge of his cage, his thoughts spinning like debris in a storm. His father became one of them? That couldn't be right. It was insane. The war had ended decades ago. His father's ship was destroyed above Cinder 4. There were no survivors. And yet, the proof shimmered before him. Hanging around Vrah's neck was a metal insignia, a human officer's mark, weathered, bent, and scorched but unmistakable. The engraved name was clear even after all these years. Captain Ezra Ray. His father. Adam felt the air leave his lungs. Where did you get that? His voice trembled. Vra tilted her head, her golden hair falling in thick strands across her shoulder. He gave it, she said slowly, as if tasting each human word. Before change. Change. Adam stepped closer to the bars. What do you mean change? You mean he became like you? She nodded once, slow and sorrowful. Human and Adriel. One became both. Adam backed away, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. You can't just become another species. That's not how biology works. Vra's expression softened. War made new rules. Her words hung heavy in the air. She rose, her form towering over him, graceful yet filled with pain. The light caught the scars across her body, jagged marks, burns, and deep slashes that told the story of battles fought long ago. Your kind, she said quietly, used blood to heal ours. Adriel warriors were dying, so humans made them stronger. But not all survived. Some became lost between worlds. Adam stared, remembering whispers from classified war records. The Symbiosis Initiative, a rumored genetic weapon project the Alliance had denied ever existed. He muttered to himself, "My father was part of Project Symbiote." Vra's head turned sharply. "That name," she said, the guttural sound of her voice mixing with human syllables. "Yes, symbiote. That was the word he said, before the light took him." "What light?" She looked toward the jungle beyond the cave. "The same storm that burns me. The same sky fire that screams when it rains." He walked into it, and he did not come back. Adam swallowed hard. Lightning. The atmospheric ion storms of his planet were infamous for disrupting neural patterns and tearing through electronic systems. If his father had gone into one, maybe something had happened at the molecular level. Something irreversible. He pressed his forehead against the cold vines of the cage. "If what you're saying is true, then He hesitated. "I'm part of it too, aren't I?" Vra's golden eyes softened. "Yes, I can feel it. Your scent carries the pulse of both worlds." He stared at his hands. They looked normal, but something inside him felt off. His heartbeat thudded with a strange rhythm, syncing faintly with the deep rumble of hers. Every time she breathed, he felt his own chest rise in unison. "What's happening to me?" "The air," she murmured. "Your blood is waking. This world remembers you." He took a step back, dizzy. The edges of his vision shimmered. The sounds of the jungle grew sharper. The hiss of insects, the distant cries of unseen creatures, the whisper of the wind against the stone. His body was changing, just as she said. Memories flickered, his father's voice echoing from childhood. "Adam, some things you can't fight with bullets. Some wars are fought inside the body." He didn't understand it then. He did now. Vra knelt, her eyes level with his cage. "You fear me," she said softly, "but you're closer to me than to them." He wanted to deny it, to scream that he was human, that he didn't belong to this nightmare. But when he looked into her eyes, those ancient, luminous eyes, something inside him answered. "Why tell me this?" he asked. "Why now?" "Because they are coming," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The ones who made me, the ones who made him, they will find you. And when they do, they will take what is inside you." Adam felt his blood run cold. Who? The Adriel or the humans? Her jaw tightened. Both. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the distant rumble of thunder. Then she turned away, her massive silhouette framed against the dim light. "Sleep," she said. "Tomorrow, you will see what you truly are." But Adam didn't sleep. He sat against the vines, staring at his hands as faint blue lines began to shimmer under his skin, like rivers of light. His pulse grew louder in his ears, syncing with hers across the chamber. He could hear her breathing. He could feel it. Each exhale stirred the air around him. It was as if some invisible thread now connected them. When the storm outside broke, lightning flashed through the cave, illuminating her face. Her expression was unreadable, part sorrow, part awe. "Your father," she said suddenly, without turning. "He said he would come. That one day his blood would return to finish what he could not." Adam froze. "He knew I'd come here?" Vra's voice dropped to a whisper. "He made sure you would." Before he could ask what she meant, a tremor shook the ground. The vines around his cage shivered as dust fell from the ceiling. Vraya's head snapped toward the entrance, nostrils flaring. "They found us," she hissed. "Boo! Silence!" She moved with startling speed, her huge hands pressing against the cave walls. Energy hummed faintly from outside, blue arcs of plasma dancing through the fog. Through a narrow gap, Adam saw faint shapes moving, metallic, insectoid, human-sized. Alliance drones. His breath caught. "Those are hunters," Vra growled. "They smell your blood." Her massive hand reached through the vines, closing around his cage. Adam's world tilted as she lifted it effortlessly and pushed it into a hidden alcove between jagged stones. "Stay. Do not speak." Her eyes glowed brighter as she turned to face the entrance. Shadows flickered as drones hovered closer, scanning the cavern. Adam's heart pounded as blue light streaked across the floor. The hum grew louder. Vra stepped forward, towering and fierce, her skin shimmering with faint bioluminescent veins that pulsed like lightning. She roared, a deep, thunderous sound that rattled the stone. Plasma bolts fired, lighting the cave in bursts of blue and white. Adam watched in horror and awe as she caught one drone midair and crushed it with her bare hands. The scent of burning metal filled the air. Then, suddenly, silence. She stood panting, smoke rising from her arms. One last bolt struck her shoulder, sending her crashing to her knees. "Vra," Adam whispered. Her head turned slightly toward him. Even through the haze, her eyes glowed faintly blue, just like the light beneath his skin. "You see," she rasped, blood running down her arm. "It begins." And as dawn crept over the jungle, Adam looked down at his reflection in the water pooled beneath the cage. His pupils shimmered, faintly luminescent, shifting between human brown and radiant blue. He stared breathless. The glow pulsed in rhythm with hers. He didn't need a mirror to know the truth. He was becoming one of them. The jungle burned blue. Laser fire cracked through the mist, slicing trees like paper. The air was thick with ozone and the stench of scorched vegetation. Adam crouched behind the wreckage of a downed drone, his lungs screaming for air as energy blasts scorched the soil around him. Vra's shadow loomed overhead, massive, defiant, bleeding. "Stay down," he shouted, though his voice was lost in the thunder of plasma fire. Her response was a guttural roar that made the earth tremble. She slammed her palm into the ground, sending up a shockwave that toppled two hovering drones. Metal scattered like shrapnel. But for every one she destroyed, 3 more appeared, darting between the skeletal trees. Adam's wrist comm crackled to life. "Lieutenant Ray, this is command control. Do you read? Identify location and threat level." He froze. They'd found his signal. He fumbled for the mic, pressing it close. "Command, this is Ray. I'm alive. I repeat, I'm alive." "You have to." "Lieutenant," came the reply, cold and clipped. "Your beacon shows proximity to classy biological anomaly. Confirms status of engagement." Adam hesitated. "Negative on engagement. She's not hostile." "Lieutenant, do not approach the target." "Repeat, do not approach." "Biothreat classified Echo tier. Terminate if possible." He stared at the device in disbelief. "She saved me," he yelled into the comm. "You don't understand, she's not." Static hissed. Then another voice replaced the operator's, deeper, commanding, with the tone of someone who knew exactly who he was. "Lieutenant Ray, this is Colonel Vance. Stand down and await extraction. The creature near you is responsible for multiple human casualties during the first contact incident. You are compromised." Adam's chest tightened. He glanced at Vra. She stood, towering amid the smoke, eyes glowing with anguish. The drones encircled her, targeting beams locking onto her chest. He could hear her breathing, ragged, pained, human in its rhythm. "They hunt me," she said softly. "Like before." Adam swallowed hard. "They think you're a weapon." "Maybe I am." Before he could respond, one of the drones fired a plasma charge. The bolt hit her shoulder, exploding in a burst of blinding blue light. She screamed, staggering back, her massive hand clutching the wound. The sound tore through Adam's chest. "Stop!" He roared into the comm. "Cease fire, damn it." But Command didn't listen. He saw the targeting lasers crawl across her body. The drones were moving in for the kill. Something inside him snapped. The rhythm he'd felt earlier, the pulse that matched hers, now surged through him like wildfire. His skin burned with heat, his veins glowing faintly beneath the grime. He felt his muscles tighten, his breath deepen, and for a fleeting instant, the world slowed. He lunged forward, grabbing a broken plasma rifle from the dirt. The weapon was half melted, but it hummed when he gripped it. A pulse of light ran from his fingers into the weapon's core, and it came alive. He fired once. The bolt hit a drone dead center, blowing it apart in a burst of molten metal. He fired again, and the rifle sang, blue fire pouring from the barrel. Vra turned, stunned, her golden eyes widening. "You awakened." "I don't know what I am anymore," he muttered. Together they fought. She ripped drones from the sky with her bare hands, crushing them like toys. He darted between the trees, shooting with inhuman precision. Every time she took a hit meant for him, he felt it too, a sting deep in his bones. It was as if their nervous systems were linked, two halves of a single heartbeat. "Adam!" Vra roared as another drone charged a plasma burst. He dived forward instinctively, sliding beneath her arm. The drone shot struck the ground behind him, blasting soil into the air. He rose, aimed, and fired straight through its core. But more were coming. "Command, cease fire," he screamed again. "You're killing her." The comm crackled. "Negative, Lieutenant. You've been exposed to the bio-threat. Extraction denied until containment confirmed." Adam's blood boiled. "Containment?" he spat. "You mean execution." Another blast shook the earth. Vra fell to one knee, breathing hard, her massive form trembling. "Go," she whispered. "They want you. Leave me." He looked up at her, this creature, this hybrid of war and tragedy, and felt something inside him break. "No, not this time." He sprinted toward her, plasma rifle blazing. Drones swooped down, but he moved like lightning, guided by instincts that weren't human anymore. Every shot found its mark. Every step echoed her pulse. When he reached her, she was kneeling, bleeding silver blue across her arm. He pressed his hands against the wound instinctively, and light flared between them. The bleeding slowed. The glow in his palms matched hers. Her eyes widened. "You heal as we do. I'm not letting you die." The comm crackled again, but this time the voice was calm, deliberate. "Lieutenant Ray, step away from the target. This is your final warning." He ignored it. The ground trembled as the last wave of drones descended, heavier models with twin plasma cannons. Vra rose, staggering, shielding him with her massive body. The blasts hit her again and again. She didn't move. She just stood there, taking every strike meant for him. Adam screamed, firing until his weapon overheated and died in his hands. Sparks flew. His ears rang. He could barely see through the smoke. And then silence. When the haze cleared, Vra was on her knees, her body scorched, her breath shallow. The remaining drones hovered back, their weapons powered down. A single transmission tone echoed from Adam's comm. He lifted it, his hand trembling. "This is command," the voice said. "Lieutenant Ray, stand down." He stared at it, rage burning behind his eyes. "You try to kill her." "Negative. The bio-threat is neutralized. We have further orders." He almost threw the device away. "I'm done taking orders." But then the voice changed. It wasn't the colonel anymore. It was quieter, deeper, familiar. "Adam," it said. He froze. "Son, it's me." He blinked, his breath catching in his throat. "What did you just say?" "Lieutenant Ray, stand down," the voice repeated. "We found your father. He's alive." The comm went dead. Adam stood motionless, surrounded by fire and smoke. Vra's enormous hand twitched beside him, reaching weakly toward his leg. Her eyes fluttered open, barely conscious. "Your father," she whispered. "No, it cannot be." He knelt beside her, gripping her hand as the jungle burned around them. "Vra, what are you talking about?" Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where a bright blue light flickered through the clouds. "Because he became one of us," she breathed, her voice fading. And if he's alive? Her words trailed off into silence as her hand went limp. Adam turned toward the distant light, cold, electric, pulsing like a heartbeat. And in that instant, he realized what command hadn't said. His father wasn't just alive. He was coming. The world dissolved into white light. Adam woke to the hiss of recycled air and the soft hum of machinery. The smell of sterilized metal filled his lungs, familiar and cold. For a moment, he thought he was back in orbit on the ardent sphere before the crash. But when his vision cleared, he realized he wasn't anywhere near home. A bright medbay surrounded him. Sleek, chrome walls, humming consoles, and white lights too clean to belong to any field ship. His wrists were bound in magnetic cuffs. He sat up sharply. "Where's Vra?" The nearest medic flinched, keeping her distance. "Lieutenant Ray, please lie down. You've suffered atmospheric contamination." "Where is she?" he demanded. The woman didn't answer. She just pressed a button on her wrist pad. A door hissed open, and a tall figure entered the room. Black uniform, silver insignia, and eyes that didn't quite meet his. "Lieutenant Ray," the man said evenly. "Welcome back." Adam recognized the voice. Colonel Vance, the same man who ordered the drone strike. Adam's blood ran cold. "You tried to kill her. She's a biological weapon, Lieutenant," Vance said calmly. "You did your duty. You survived. That's what matters." Adam clenched his fists. "I watched her bleed for me. She protected me. And you?" Vance raised a hand, cutting him off. "You've been exposed to unknown genetic agents. We need to assess your condition before we discuss what you think you saw." He turned toward the door. "Doctor, begin extraction procedures." Two medics approached, one carrying a syringe filled with shimmering blue liquid. Adam's instinct screamed. The faint pulse under his skin flared, that strange energy humming through his veins again. "You touch me with that thing," he said quietly, "and I'll tear this room apart." The medics froze. Vance's expression shifted slightly, surprise, then curiosity. "You're already changing, aren't you?" he said softly. "Just like him." Adam's heart skipped. "My father." Vance's gaze hardened. "He's alive, yes, but not the way you remember. What did you do to him?" Vance didn't answer. He simply nodded to the guards. "Put him under." The syringe jabbed his arm before he could move. The world dimmed again, voices echoing, faces blurring, and the faint metallic taste of fear coating his tongue. When he woke again, the lights were dim. The hum of the engines was deeper, steadier. He was in a different room, smaller, colder, but someone had left a data pad beside him, flickering faintly. He reached for it. The message was encrypted, but as soon as he touched the screen, it unlocked to his genetic signature. A familiar voice played, distorted, shaky, but unmistakable. "Adam, if you're hearing this, they've already lied to you." He froze. His father's voice. "They told you I was taken by aliens. They told you the Adral turned me into something else. But it wasn't them, Adam. It was us. Humanity did this." Static buzzed. Then the voice continued, weaker this time. "We created the hybrids. The Adral never wanted war, they wanted peace. But when our generals saw their biology, they saw potential. Soldiers who could heal, fight, endure. They spliced us with them. I volunteer because someone had to keep them from turning it into genocide." Adam's throat tightened. "Vra was one of us," the voice said. "She wasn't a monster. She escaped the lab on Realus Prime, the same place they kept me. If you've met her, then you've seen what humanity's guilt looks like." The recording ended with a faint click. Adam sat there for a long time, staring at the device. Everything inside him burned. Anger, grief, and something darker, sharper, primal. He looked at his reflection in the glass panel across the room. His eyes glowed faintly blue in the dim light. The door hissed open again. Two soldiers entered, whispering to each other. Adam didn't move. He let them approach. Then, when one reached for his arm, he snapped the restraints like paper. The guards shouted, reaching for their sidearms, but Adam moved faster. His reflexes weren't human anymore. His hand closed over one weapon before it cleared the holster. A blue spark flared as he backhanded the other man across the room. "Where is she?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. The terrified soldier shook his head. They're taking her off-world. Command said she's being transported for termination. Adam's pulse spiked. No, he whispered. Not again. The alarms blared as he sprinted through the corridors, lights flashing red, doors slamming shut behind him. The energy in his veins guided him, almost like instinct. He didn't need maps. He felt where she was. The hangar bay burst open before him, revealing the vast belly of the human cruiser. Beyond its 4 shields, the crimson jungle was still visible through the viewport, small, distant, doomed. In the center of the bay, a massive bomb transport gleamed under harsh lights. It bore the symbol of the containment division. He read the mission log flashing across a nearby console. Directive: Purge Site Delta 9. Target: Biothreat Specimen VRA. ETA to planetary sterilization. 18 minutes and 42 seconds. No, Adam breathed. You're going to wipe the whole planet. He grabbed a pilot from the deck, slamming him against the wall. Cancel the strike. The man stammered. It's automated. It's not us. It's command protocol. You can't override it without central authorization. Adam's blood was roaring in his ears now. Then I'll do it myself. He ran, past startled crew, through maintenance corridors, into the drop bay. The shuttle pods lined the deck like silver coffins. He slammed into one, sealing the hatch, overriding the system with sheer force of will. His hybrid pulse short-circuited the lock. The engine screamed as the pod tore free from the cruiser and plunged back toward the planet. Fire wrapped around the hull. The world shook. He gritted his teeth and gripped the controls. I'm coming, Vrah, he whispered. The pod smashed into the jungle, skidding through the dirt until it hit the ruins of the old crash site. Smoke poured from the wreck. He stumbled out, coughing, scanning the clearing. Vrah, he shouted. Vrah, answer me. Only silence. The jungle was eerily still. He moved toward the cave where she'd hidden him days before, his pulse hammering, the faint glow beneath his skin lighting his path. But when he reached the entrance, the place was torn apart. Walls collapsed, scorch marks everywhere. Something heavy lay on the ground. He ran to it, dropping to his knees. It was one of her armbands, the one engraved with the old human insignia. His father's insignia. The metal was cracked, burned. He picked it up, fingers trembling. Then, from somewhere deep in the jungle, the ship's engine roared. He looked up just in time to see a transport craft rising through the mist, sleek, black, no markings. Through its rear viewport, he thought he saw a massive silhouette slumped inside, chained, unmoving. Vrah, he whispered. The ship vanished into the clouds, leaving nothing but silence and the faint echo of engines fading into the red sky. Adam fell to his knees, clutching the broken band. His reflection glowed in the metal, half human, half something else. Not again, he said softly. You're not taking her again. Behind him, the jungle rumbled as the countdown aboard the cruiser ticked closer to 0. He stood slowly, eyes blazing blue. The storm above began to churn, lightning splitting the clouds. And for the first time, he didn't feel alone. He felt connected. To the jungle. To her. To something older and vast that pulsed beneath his skin. He raised his eyes to the sky. They made this war, he whispered. Now I'll end it. The horizon flared white as the orbital strike descended. The air inside the orbital research station was too clean, too sterile. It stung Adam's lungs as he crept through the maintenance shafts, every vibration of the metal echoing in his bones. Below him, bright white lights illuminated glass chambers stretching across the hangar, each one filled with floating silhouettes, half human, half beast. He could feel the hum of the containment fields, even from here, the low throb of restrained power. But it wasn't the machines that chilled him. It was the voice echoing in his mind, the memory of her humming. Vrah, he'd crossed the jungle, the flames, the blood, and the lies to reach her. He told himself he'd never believe monsters could love. But now, he was the one breaking into a fortress of monsters, created by his own people. He dropped silently onto a walkway, the clang swallowed by the roar of generators. His stolen ID badge flickered green as it passed a retinal scanner. Authorization accepted, the AI chimed. The voice was cheerful. It made him sick. The hallway ahead opened into the containment deck. Through the transparent barrier, he saw her. Brah! Her colossal form was bound in energy restraints that glowed like blue fire. Her luminous skin, once radiant like moonlight, was dull now, covered in bruises. Tubes ran into her veins, draining that faint bioluminescence drop by drop into machines labeled Gene Synthesis Unit. Her head hung low, eyes dim. Not defiant, not monstrous, just tired. Adam pressed his hand to the glass, his breath fogging the cold surface. "Brah," he whispered. Her eyelids fluttered, and for a heartbeat, her gaze lifted. When she saw him, something flickered, a recognition so faint it almost broke him. Her lips moved soundlessly. He knew what she said without hearing it. "You came back." A voice behind him froze the moment. "You shouldn't have." Adam turned. The silhouette was older now, hunched, wrapped in a lab coat stained with time and regret. His father. "Dad, I told him you'd come," the old man said softly. His voice trembled, not with weakness but guilt. "You were always stubborn, always too much like her." "Like who?" "Like the one we created and called a mistake." He stepped closer, eyes hollow. "She was human once, Adam. They all were. We mixed their DNA with alien tissue to build soldiers who could survive the war. We told ourselves we were saving humanity. But when it started feeling, thinking, loving, we called them monsters." Adam's fists clenched. "You lied to me. You said she killed you." "She saved me," his father said, voice cracking. But that didn't fit the story Command wanted. They needed enemies, not miracles. Behind the glass, Vra stirred, the sound of the conversation cutting through her daze. Her restraints pulsed as she struggled weakly. The monitors screamed warnings. "She'll die if you don't stop this," Adam said. "She was never meant to live," his father whispered, lowering his head. "Neither were you." The words hit like a blade. Adam staggered back, chest heaving. "What did you do to me?" His father raised his hand. "You carry her blood, Adam. A hybrid template. Her gift, my curse. They called it Phase 2, a new evolution. You were the test subject they didn't need to create again." Adam's world tilted. The memory of his glowing eyes, the pulse he shared with her in the jungle, it all came rushing back. "No," he muttered. "I'm not one of them." "You are," his father said. "You always were. You feel her pain because you were built from the same seed." The alarms flared red. Containment breach imminent. The glass began to crack. Adam's hand went to the control console. He didn't care anymore. "Then I'll finish what you couldn't." He slammed his palm onto the override switch. Sirens wailed as the energy fields collapsed. The lights dimmed. His father shouted something, but the roar of breaking glass drowned everything. Vra fell forward, the cables snapping off her body as the chamber exploded in a burst of mist and light. She hit the floor hard, breathing shallow, eyes half open. Adam rushed to her side, cutting through the smoke. Her skin shimmered weakly. "Vra, it's me," he said, voice trembling. "You're free now." Her massive fingers twitched, brushing against his arm. Why come back?" she whispered, her voice soft and fading. "Because you weren't the monster," he said. "We were." She looked at him with something between sorrow and peace. "You finally stopped fearing me." The deck shuddered violently. Flames burst from ruptured fuel lines. The containment core overloaded, the white light turning crimson. Adam grabbed her arm, trying to pull her up, but she pushed him away gently. "No more running, Fireborn," she said. Her tone was almost tender. "Live." Then the world collapsed. The explosion tore through the deck, sending fire and steel into the void. Darkness. Then silence. When Adam awoke, everything was gone. The station was nothing but broken wreckage orbiting a dying planet. His body ached, every nerve burning with a strange pulse. He looked down at his hands. They were larger, stronger. His reflection in the broken glass showed faint blue veins glowing under his skin. He staggered to his feet, staring at the horizon beyond the shattered viewport. Somewhere below, the jungle still burned. The sky rippled with static. His comm crackled. "Subject Ray, A cold voice said through the static. Containment successful. Phase 2 has begun. Adam lifted his gaze, the reflection in the glass no longer human. Somewhere deep inside, he felt her heartbeat echoing in his own. The transmission repeated, louder this time. Phase 2 active. And far below, in the shadow of the crimson jungle, something massive moved again.